Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar topic is Remedyforce reports and dashboard. We will start in a couple of minutes. We will see if any other people is going to join. Thank you so much for being with us today, and let's appreciate your patience and let's wait a couple of minutes and see if anyone's gonna join with us. Thank you. Again, thank you so much for joining with us. We will be starting in a couple of minutes. So thank you and appreciate your patience. All right, so let's begin. So for those you don't know me yet, my name is Ramiro Torres. I'm from the BMC Remedyforce technical support team. I am a BMC Remedyforce professional certified and a Salesforce app builder certified. Here's also with me Diego Novoa on the chat, who is going to be helping us today with your questions. Today's webinar it's Salesforce reports and dashboards on BMC Helix Remedyforce. So let's begin. All right, so what is the structure on Salesforce for the reports? So the reports, first we need to understand how reports are defined on Remedyforce. Reports and dashboards are part of the Salesforce platform, and they're defined in the next way. There is a report type, which it's pretty much defines the object, data, and relationships available at report level. So at this level, what we do is we define the fields and the data available at the report. So then we can create a report. The report is a collection of fields from a specific object and the relationships defined at the report level. And then we have dashboards. Dashboards are a collection of reports which display info from reports as graphs. All right, so today's webinar, we're gonna Okay, we're gonna hold on for a sec. I think we're having some sort of problem with the audio, so please stand by. Let us check right now our streaming settings. All right, so please, if anyone can confirm if the audio is better now. Okay, so let's continue. I'm sorry for that. I deeply apologize. So let me go one step back. So I was saying that this is the basic structure for the reports on Salesforce platform. We'd start first with the report types, which are definitions of the reports. Basically, what we do in here on the report types, we define which objects we're going to report and their relationships. All the data and fields that are defined at report type level uh, define the number of fields we will have when we build a report. It's like a template for a report. Um, so then we have the report, which is the collection of the data we choose from the report type and the way we order the data, right? So we can filter the data based on time, based on any other criteria, and based on any other field that we have at the report type level. After that, we have the dashboards, which is a collection of the reports. And dashboards are essentially reports with some graphs. So you can choose to render a report instead of a table to render as a graph, as a donut chart, as a bar chart. We will see it in a bit. Okay, so for today's webinar, this is going to be the basic on reports because we need to understand first how things works on Salesforce Classic, and then we're gonna see as well um, some reports on lighting as well. We will cover the next topics. We are going to create a custom report type, so you're gonna see how to create your own report types in case the standard report types doesn't suit you. Then we're gonna create a report on Salesforce Classic and on lighting. After that, we're gonna create a dashboard, and we're gonna also schedule a report on Classic. Uh, Finally, we're gonna see how to segregate our reports and dashboards based on permissions. So we assign permissions to the reports and dashboards so people that we like to choose can see the reports. All right, so if you would like to follow us on this webinar, please log into your Remedyforce. First, we're going to start with the classic version because I think it's better to understand on classic and it's going to be friendlier to understand later when we move to lighting. So let me open my Remedyforce. All right, so first let's go to Reports tab, and I'm going to show you first what is a report type. And if you don't have the Reports tab available in here, click on the plus sign and you should be able to see it. In case you don't have the reports, make sure your administrator has granted you access to manage reports on your profile. If you're an administrator, you should be able to see the reports tab. Okay, from the reports tab, basically, the reports and dashboards tab, it's pretty much the same tab. From here, we can create either a new report or a new dashboard. And there's two views from here. The left side, we have some sort of a folder tree. And from here, we see the standard folders that comes with Remedyforce. You will see it right here. It says install the package BMC Helix Remedyforce. Those are out of the box folders that comes with some dashboards in there. Also, we have some folders that comes with Salesforce, like sales reports, lead reports. These are sample reports that probably you will not have it or you do, but that depends on your if you choose the demo data on your Salesforce org. All right, then you have my personal custom reports. Every single user on your organization will have a folder for their own custom reports. This is like your personal folder, and everything you save in here, it's not visible to anyone else. Okay? So this is the layout, the basic layout. Here we have an icon to create a new report folder or a new dashboard folder, right? So example, imagine that your HR staff members would like to see the reports for um, people who is being submitting tickets into Remedyforce, but they are part of the HR queue, right? So probably you will need to build a new report folder, and let's say HR reports. We click on save, and that's it. We have created a new folder. From here, we can grant access to any specific people, but we will see that later. Okay. So now we have created a folder. Let's go and see what is a report type. When you choose to create a new report, you will see another folder tree in here, which represents categories. So we have accounts and contacts, opportunities, leads, campaigns, stuff, right? And we have other reports. All the reports from Remedyforce are being saved on this folder of reports, but you can basically use the quick find here to look for a specific report type. All of these are report types, okay? So example, if I go and look for incidents, I will see incidents with account, incidents with configuration item and asset, service category, contact. Okay, so what this means is that if I choose incidents, I will only get information from the incident object, and that's it, and the lookups, but not info from the related objects. Here's another incident, but this time it says incidents with account. So this time I'm getting the full data from incidents and from the accounts that are related to those incidents. Okay. So if we would like to see which accounts are submitting tickets, top offenders, top tickets, then this is the way to choose. So in case we don't find any report type that suits our needs, let's think about for a second that you would like to see emails sent from an incident, right? So if I try to find email, uh, well, there's nothing. Let's say incident with email, and there is no report types as well. So that means we need to define a report type for this. Okay. So we're gonna stand by in here for a sec, and we're going to the setup menu. Going to open the setup menu in a new tab because we're gonna build a new report type. From the quick find in here, let's type report types. And as you can see here, we have all our report types. The ones that you see with the blue arrow are the ones that are coming on the Remedyforce package or on other managed package that you may have on your Salesforce. From here, we can click on the new custom report type. And here it's where we start to define which objects we're going to see on the report. Okay, so let me tell you this. We're going to see, we're looking for emails sent from an incident. So we need two objects, okay? We need the actual email because we need to see the email, and we need the incident object. We know that the incident, it's the incident object, but we don't know exactly what is the email object. There's no such thing as email object, right? Well, we save all email communications, notes, and basically all communications with customers from the self-service or from email on a object called actions, right? So we know now that the actions object is a communication one and that it's related to the incident object. Um, So it's hard to figure out this just by clicking and playing. I mean, you should be aware of the structure of the platform and the Remedyforce because it is not at the site that the action object contains the email communications, right? I'm gonna tell you a tip just right after we finish this report type. So let's look for actions, and we have a couple of them. This one is from a different managed package. So this one is from Remedyforce, so we click on this one. Then I'm going to select a name. This is the name that we are going to see on the actual reports tab. So for those who are having a problem with the resolution, try to go to the gear icon on the YouTube player and set the resolution to 720p at least, or higher is if it's available. If for some reason it's not available, there must be some network interference. Okay, so we continue. We select a label for our report in a description. We're gonna set email communications sent from incident. Okay. Then we select a category. This actually doesn't really matter on which category you set up this. It can be on other reports. And this is key deployment. If you choose to be on development, this won't be visible for everyone. This only will be visible for authorized administrators. If you choose deploy, this will be visible for anyone who has access to the reports tab. So for this test purpose, we're going to choose deployed and click on next. Okay, now from here we already have our primary object, which is actions. Now we need to select our secondary object. For our secondary object, these are the relationships between the actions and other Remedyforce objects, like the change request object, the broadcast, the release, the task. So we're gonna grab this one, incident history. And as you can see here, we can choose the relationship between both. So we want to see each record, each action that has their corresponding incident, right? So we're going to see this great universe that it's here, because every single action it's tied to an incident or to any other object, but it requires to be tied up to a record. So we click on save. And that's it. We already have created our report type. So let's remember the name. It's email sent by incident. Let's go back to the reports tab and let's refresh it. So let's click now new report and look for our report type we just created. There you go. So we have email sent by incident. And here's a description that we choose during the creation wizard. And we click on create. All right, so from here, what are the initial steps to see to build our own report? There are three main sections on Classic. The first section is the filter section. So here we can filter first by my actions with, well, these are actions are assigned under my name. It doesn't make sense to keep it like this because we want to see all the emails or all the actions on the universe of the Remedyforce. So let's choose all actions. Okay, so second thing we need to select, it's the date margin, right? So we want to see the created date, but you can choose last modified date. You can choose different times in here. And then from here you can use relative times like the current financial year, or relative times like fiscal quarter, calendar year, or just a custom day window. I'm sorry. Okay, for this purpose, I'm gonna set all time. I don't care about the time in here. I want to see everything. And now, as you can see, we have a small preview here. Right now, we only have two columns, which is action and incident history ID. Okay. As you can see, this only shows only 50 records because it is a preview. So in order to see all the records, we need to run the report. Okay. All right. How do we complete our request to see all the emails sent from a specific incident? Okay. So if we check the action column, we see that this is the type of action. Example, here is an action for an email that was received. This is a client note. This is an email sent, another email receipts, etc. Okay, so from here, we need three things. So we need the incident number because we want to see what is the incident number related to those actions. So from the search box in here, we'll look for incident, and we drag it and drop it into the preview zone. And now we already got the incident. For those who probably will ask, what is this thing? What is the incident history? If you're familiar with database modeling, uh, these are the foreign keys for their respective objects, for the action object and the incident object. And this is what we call a junction object. So the incident number 62 has a relationship to this action through this record. Okay, so we don't need it in here because it doesn't offer any additional info, just the number. So we're going to remove the column by clicking on the drop down and click on remove the column. All right, so we got the incident number and the action. So let's look for the content of the action. How do we see the content of this action? What is the client know that this client said? What is the email that we received for this incident? Okay. The content for the actions are within the node on the incident histories. Okay, so we drag and drop it here, and there you go. We got now the content of those emails. Okay, so we already got pretty much everything. The only thing we're missing is to filter only by email sends, because we see we have many different actions in here. So how do we filter? Okay, so let's go to filters in here and we click on add. And let's look for the action. And we're going to take the action from the action object. And we'll look for email sent. Okay, now we got only email sends. All right, so imagine, let's say I want to see only email sends from incidents that are currently open, right? Okay, we can add an additional filter, and let's see if we got anything from the actual incident. Well, I just can, because as you remember, we got only two relationships in this. We got the incident and the incident histories, right? So that means I have access to the incident number, but I don't have access to the actual data inside the incident number, right? So this is why report types are so important, because you limit the visibility for certain objects and certain fields, right? Obviously, there are multiple options to get additional objects. We will not cover this on this webinar because that it's an advanced session for reporting. So we will stick at the basic, and on the next webinar we will cover how to query or how to use more than two objects on a single report. Okay, but let's see what we can do with the filters. Okay, let's see. Let's imagine that we would like to see not only email sent. Let me remove first the. Let's see the entire universe again. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's imagine that we want to see email sends, but also client notes. So it's gonna be one or the other. Okay. So again, we add actions equals to email sent, and action once again equals to client note. All right. Okay, we got 0 records. And if we verify the logic in here, we're saying action equals email sent and action equals client node, which it doesn't make any sense, right? So we need to add or modify the filter logic, okay? So if we click on this drop down and we go to the second option, we'll see the filter logic component. We add it and then we are able to choose the logic. So we want to see one or the other. So we type an or, we click on OK, and that will give us exactly the results we wanted, right? So we're seeing not only email sends, but we're seeing also the client notes. All right. Well, that is all for this report type. We're gonna end this topic about report types, and we're gonna jump to another another topic. This time, let's go and switch to lighting experience. And we're gonna see how to build a report on lighting. So let's go to reports tab. And here it's the same logic and the same core. The only difference is that the layout is totally different, right? As you can see, I don't have the same folder tree as I used to have on the classic. I just have all the reports, public reports, and private reports. So private reports, it's going to be the same thing as our personal folder, and these are reports that are only available to me. So let's see how can we build a similar report on lighting. So click on new report, and this time we're gonna use one of the standard report types. Let's look for incident and scroll down till incidents. Click on continue. And from here, the layout, it's, as I mentioned, different here. The fields from the incident object will be located here. You just gotta click on this and it's gonna show us the entire field sets for the incident object. The filters are gonna have being shown on this small tab, and it is exactly the same logic. First, we need to select the universe of incidents, my incident, my team incidents, queue owner incidents, etc. We're going to select all incidents. Then we're going to select the time frame. For this demo purpose, we're going to choose the close date. And I would like to see the incidents that are closed during the last year, and I would like to see by month. Okay, so let's look for calendar year, and I'm gonna choose current CY, which is calendar year. Hit apply. And okay, I got all incidents that were closed during the year. So now let's add additional fields. Gonna add the staff who is assigned to those, and we double click instead of drag and drop. What else can we add? Let's add the description. Okay, let's add a category. And let's add who is the client. And of course, the close date. All right. Okay, so now we got everything. If we can modify the order by just dragging and dropping the columns. I'm gonna do is just real simple. I'm gonna put first staff, description, client, and insert number at the beginning. There we go. Okay, so now let me just do this. Okay, so how do we group this by month? There are two options. We can go to the grouping section here, and we can add a group. Or if we already have the field or the column on the report, we can click on the drop down and we can select group rows by this field. Okay, so we got a grouping, but for some reason it grouped by day, not by month, right? So we need to modify the grouping so we can see all the closed tickets during a month. So let's click on the drop down on the closed date column and go to group date by. And let's select calendar month. Right, that looks like the final result, right? If we would like to add an additional grouping example, I would like to see the incidents that were closed by month, by staff, so I can get a list from my staff people who is closing the most tickets per month. I can also group by a secondary field, and I can choose group rows by this field. In this scenario, it doesn't will look like we will not see I mean the the same results or different results because I am the only staff on this Remedyforce, but you should be able to see your staff being grouped by their name and their tickets that were assigned to them. Okay, so from here we had a couple of options. It's the same thing on both Lighter and Classic. We already have a report built, and we would like to As I said, this is a preview, so it will show only 50 records. Right now we only have 18 here, so it doesn't matter if we don't run the job because I'm seeing the same results, right? But if you will have more than 18 records, so you can click on the run button, and that is the full report. If you would like to go back and continue editing the report, click on the edit button, and that will take you back. Okay, so if we are if I agree with our report, let's click on the save button, and obviously it's gonna ask you for a name. So we're gonna choose incidents close by staff per month current year, and select the folder where you want to save this report. The folder is it's critical for the permissions. The permissions to the report are granted by the folder. So if you grant access to someone to a specific folder, they will be able to see the content and the reports inside that folder. Keep in mind that if you don't have access to an object, but you do have access to the reports folder, you won't be able to see the content of the report because you don't have access to the object. It is strictly necessary that you have full rights on the objects that inside or the content of your report, right? So it doesn't matter if you have folder access, but if you don't have object access, then it's gonna throw up an error telling you that you don't have or you have insufficient privileges, okay? So let's choose our folder that we created, which is HR reports, all right? Select folder, and that's it. Okay, so let's go back to Classic. Go once again to Reports tab, and let's modify the permissions for our folder here. Okay, when you get into the folder, click on this blue pin and click on Share. Okay, from here we gotta choose which users roles do we want to grant access. Um, you can only share the reports folder based on roles, roles and subordinates, or public groups if you click on this drop down, or in a specific user. So let's say we would like to share this folder with the people on HR, but we don't have a role for HR, right? How do we share this report folder with the HR people? Well, that can be achieved by creating a public group. If you go back to the setup menu and type public groups, then click on new, choose a name for your report, for your public group, then select the search based on users and add the people you want to be on this group. Click on save, then go back to the report, click on the blue pin again, Click on share, do not click on edit. And there you go. We gotta select now the public groups. And select the HR staff. Click on share. In here we gotta grant the access for them. If you wanna see viewer, editor, or manager. So for them, I'm gonna select viewer and click on done. Okay, so let me check in here. I think we have a couple of questions. Melissa says, is there any way to move a report from another folder? Yes, there is a way to move a report from another folder. We're gonna see that in a bit. Okay, so let's close this and we have granted the access. Alright, okay, so how do we move a report from one folder to another? There is no action, as you can see, just to move. Okay, let's say I would like to move this report from this folder from HR reports to my personal custom reports or to a private folder, right? So there's no way just to drag and drop it and that's it. Unfortunately, it's a little bit complex than that, but not that hard. Okay, so let's click on the customize for the report we would like to move. And we're gonna need to clone the report because if we hit on save, it's gonna save directly on the same folder, right? There's no option just to save it on a different one. Okay, you gotta click on save as, choose a name, oops, and select the folder to save it. Click on save. That's it. We can click on close, save and close. And if we go to personal custom reports, we see now the same report in a different folder. But if we go back to HR, our previous report's still here, right? So we just need to delete, and that's it. Just keep in mind something. If you have people that it's on a schedule to receive this report by email, you gotta verify that the schedule is the same on the new report. Just double check that the schedule already exists, so no staff on your organization will be impacted. And that is our next topic on how to schedule the report. All right, so let's go back to the report. Click on the report's name, and that will give us the run report view. By the way, I forgot to mention from here, if you see, these are actually links to the records. So if I would like to see this specific record, it will bring me to the records page on Salesforce. Okay, but let's customize this and look for a field called launch console. Okay, you can either remove this one, the first one, and keep only the second one if you like. Save the report, run the report, And if you click now on this one, it will open the record directly on the Remedyforce console instead of the Salesforce tab. Okay, that applies for change request, task, release, and every single object on the Remedyforce console. Okay, so we see it's exactly the same record that we have in here. Okay, so how can we schedule a report to be sent um, to a specific group of people or users? From the reports run view, click on the drop down here at run report and select schedule future runs. This is very important because the running user will need to have access to the objects and to the report. Okay, so this can be an administrator, and this is a friendly way to access data and send it to people who is not part of Remedyforce or who doesn't have an account on Remedyforce. I mean, an account to access reports tab, or who just don't really have access to the reports tab. Okay, but they will need to be on the system itself. They need an account on Remedyforce to be able to choose them. Okay, so imagine we would like to send this to a group of people. Oops, yep, that is correct. Let's go back because I saved this on a private folder, so I won't be able to schedule to send. So I need to save it again on our and this is a common problem that people would like to schedule a report to be sent, but they don't verify that the people who is going to receive the report has access to the folder. Okay, so we're gonna save it instead of saving this on my private personal folder. We're gonna save it on HR reports. Click on save, and let's go now to the HR reports folder. Our report will be there. Click on the report name. Okay, so now go back once again to the drop down and click on schedule future runs. All right, now click on select to me and others. Okay, we have another question in there. It says, do you have to be an admin to schedule reports? And yes, you need to be an admin or the owner of the report. Example, I created this as an administrator. If I select, if I save, I'm sorry, if I save my report on my private folder, no one will be able to schedule the report. Okay, but example, if I save the folder, I mean the report on a public folder, anyone who has access to the folder can come in here and schedule a report for them. You can try yourself. You can ask a staff member and try to schedule a report for them. Okay, so going back to the schedule, if I go to the users, I won't be able to see any users, right? Because my folder doesn't have access to any additional users other than the public group I selected, right? So in this case, the only options will be um, to send it over to this public group and the people who is inside this group, right? Let's go back to the folder. Okay, we have another question. It says, if a user creates a report, can I, as an admin, schedule it for them, or will I have to copy the report then schedule it? No. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. If you as an you as an administrator can schedule a report for them, the only requirement is that the report folder, the users who are going to be scheduled the report have access to the folder. Okay. I'm going to put this as an example to answer your question. I would like to schedule this report to a specific person. Okay, I would like to schedule this for Jim Dubcock. Okay, so if I go in here and try to find Jim on the users, I don't have anyone, right? So that means I am not able to schedule the report for either Jim or anyone. Okay, so back to the folder. If I grant access to the folder share users and I choose specifically Jim, I'm gonna give him viewer access. Done. Close. If I go back now to the report and I click again on schedule future runs, now I should be able to see Jim under users. There you go. Okay, so this I think this answers your question. I am an administrator. I have created this report as an admin. The running user, it's me, which is an administrator, but I am sending the report on a schedule to Jim, right? Who probably have fewer access to the. He is not an administrator; he is a staff. Remember that administrators can see all the data on the organization, and staffs cannot. So depending on the content of the report, I will be sending all the data on the organization to Jim. So just be careful with that if you're sending sensitive data. Okay. So I know this is an incident closed by staff. Uh, so I don't worry about it if he sees data that he doesn't have access, right? But I'm sending him data that he normally wouldn't be able to see from the console or from any other way. Right, so finally, let's drag and drop Jim into the send email to. Make sure he has his email correctly, because if he doesn't have the email correctly, he won't receive the actual report. Okay, so from here we can schedule the frequency. Oh, sorry for that. If we would like to make it daily, weekly, or monthly, and when is the first time, when it's going to start and to end. There is a limit on the number of schedule. Here I am not fully sure what is exactly the limit. Let's check it out. Okay, let's see the limit. Well, it's pretty far, so it doesn't. I don't think you may have a problem with the limit. Let's see monthly. Well, daily we can choose only the start and the end date. Weekly we can select which days of the week we send the report. And monthly, well, we select the very first day of the month, except for Sundays or etc. Right? So I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna do it every weekday. I don't care about weekends. So save report modifications with this schedule. Okay, and then save report schedule. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Preferred time. So okay, today and end it. Preferred time. Okay, I'm gonna send it every day 10 a.m. from this date till October. Okay, and save report schedule. That's it. So how do you modify a current report schedule? Let's close this report for now. And go to the setup menu. Go to schedule the jobs. And here it is. The report, it's on schedule. This is the schedule. And if you click, it will take you to the report. So if you go back, if you need to modify something here, you need to delete the current one and create another one. Okay, so let's go back to reports tab. All right, so well, this is a very extensive topic. This webinar is only for 1 hour, and we haven't talked about dashboards yet. So I think we will need to schedule another session to talk about dashboards. I just would like to mention a couple of things about dashboards and show you the current dashboards that we have and we offer on Remedyforce. If we see the BMC Remedyforce folders, you'll find a couple of dashboards that might be helpful to your organization. Example, the BMC Remedyforce dashboard, right? So this, let's refresh it because it is not refreshed. It doesn't refresh automatically. You need to click on refresh. It's refreshing, so it might take a couple of minutes. There you go. If we see here, we're gonna see a default dashboard that we can customize if we click on the edit button. Paul Hogan is asking, could we include multiple objects in the next session? Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's a bunch of options on reports. It's a pretty extensive topic. Um, of course, Paul, we would like to include not only multiple objects, but also we're gonna use join reports. We're gonna see how to create formula fields to display different data on the reports. And of course, we're gonna see how to create a dashboard on both lighting and classic. So yes, so we're gonna cover that on the next our very next webinar. It's gonna be the lighting experience webinar, because as you may know, lighting is near about to enter. So Salesforce is gonna start applying lighting experience on your Salesforce organizations. You of course can still use Salesforce Classic, um, but the very next one it's gonna be lighting experience. I will try to cover some pending topics from the lighting ones that we didn't cover here. And I'm going to schedule a second webinar for reporting. Probably we're going to need a third because it's really extensive. Okay, so basic stuff on dashboards. As you can see here, we offer a couple of graphs in here to see priority incidents, the number of knowledge articles that are being used, the categories that are being used as well on the system, and the incidents per client, which is the client, the top offender client. I am the top offender right here. So also the records are assigned to me and the broadcast. If you would like to see the dashboards out of the box that we offer, go to the reports tab and look for these folders, BMC Remedyforce, and you're gonna find some really good dashboards that are already in there, and you can grab them as an example and build your own dashboards. If you still don't know how to build them, don't miss the next webinar and we will cover the entire dashboard. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your company on this webinar. And well, we are really open for the feedback, and I do apologize if you had any inconvenience with the frame rate or the audio. But we will improve for the next ones. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel.